Akira wakes up from a fall. He looks around and realizes that the world has been destroyed 200 years ago. The year was 2029. The story begins in 2029, where a young girl named Tawa finds a crying little boy, Akira, who misses his parents. She tells him not to worry because she's not going anywhere and that they are a family now. The scene then jumps forward to 2038, where society is in an uproar about AI technology. There are widespread protests against AI, with people claiming it's taking their jobs and causing societal problems. News reports show people from the Association of AI Victims demanding the government limit AI applications. One man complains he was laid off because he wasn't good at using AI, while another is furious that his son wants to marry an AI. The general sentiment is that AI lacks a soul, even though one commentator points out that human souls are just electrical signals. Back in the present, we see Akira's room, where he's having a dream about Towa and sleep-talking. His personal AI, Tagitsu, wakes him up. Akira asks for any interesting news, and an article about Dr. Tawasa Omaji, who is his big sis Tawa, pops up. She's a 19-year-old prodigy who is revolutionizing cryosleep technology and dominating the android scene. Akira notes how famous she's getting and tells Tagitsu to suggest upping security, but their AI network is so efficient that the request has already been made and completed by another AI, Ichikishima, and their guardian, Kazuya. After getting ready, Akira heads down for breakfast, which was prepared by their cooking AI. He finds his adoptive father, Kazuya, who Akira calls Pops, and gets him his food. Tawa comes in looking like she pulled an all-nighter. She explains that the beta version of her prototype android was a huge hit, making things very hectic. They have a family conversation where Kazuya teases Tawa for not going to a normal school, but she says it was a logical choice to skip grades to help with his research. Kazuya reminds her that people need more than just logic to live fulfilling lives. As Akira gets ready to leave for his morning practice before school, Kazuya and Tawa reflect on the fact that it's been almost 10 years since they took Akira in, and they decide they should do something to celebrate. On his way to school in a self-driving car, Akira thinks about Towa. She's a world-famous genius with multiple doctorates and patents who runs her own company. Akira feels that to be worthy of her, he needs to upgrade his status from family to boyfriend. We then get a flashback explaining his past. When he was 7, his parents died in an accident, and since they were estranged from their families, he was left all alone. His dad's good friend, Dr. Campina, Kazuya Omagi, took him in. He remembers meeting Tawa for the first time, who told him to call her Big Sis Tawasa. For Akira, Kazuya and Tawa became his precious and irreplaceable family, but he doesn't want to be stuck as just a little brother forever. Later, while Towa is working, she and her AI Ichikishima discuss what to get Akira for the 10-year anniversary. Her dad wants to get him limited edition sneakers, which Towa thinks is a perfect idea. She wants to get him something else too, but notes that Akira never says what he wants. Ichikishima suggests anything from her would make him happy. Tawa confides in her AI that she feels like Akira has become so much more mature recently. When Akira gets home from school and practice, Towa acts like a mother hen, asking if anything happened. He teases her about it, and she says it's her right as his big sister. During dinner, the news is on, talking about the upcoming Orionid meteor shower. Towa tries to ask Akira if he's been into anything new lately, but he says not really, mentioning they have plenty of fun things to do at home with his dad's ever-growing board game collection. Suddenly, Ichikishima interrupts with bad news. Multiple countries and concerned parties are calling for the development of Tawa's android venture, Robotech O Magi, to be halted. Religious and ethical arguments are being made that creating androids with a mind and body is too similar to creating humans, which they see as infringing on God's will. Towa is shocked, wondering why it's suddenly an issue, and Kazuya suspects someone is scheming behind the scenes. He says the worst-case scenario is that her research gets shelved, which she refuses to accept, arguing that androids bring joy to people. Kazuya decides to contact his analyst and government official friends to figure out what's going on. Akira sees all the negative news reports and feels helpless that he can't do anything for Tawa. He asks Tagitsu about the expected impact, and the AI predicts an 82% chance that Towa's work will be shut down, which would set back technological milestones by over 20 years. Kazuya finds Akira sulking in his room and tells him that at times like this, he needs to be someone Towa can lean on for emotional support. This gives Akira an idea. He decides to help Towa in the best way he knows how, by keeping her spirits up. Meanwhile, Kazuya's investigation reveals that several of Towa's rival companies have colluded to bring her down, using religious and ethical concerns as a cover because they don't want to lose their footing in the AI industry. They've also been sending weird affiliate and financing emails, trying to partner with her now that she's in a tough spot. A few days later, Akira finds a stressed-out Towa and, to her surprise, asks her to go to the zoo with him over the weekend. Towa is completely flustered and asks her, AI Ichikishima, if Akira was asking her out on a date. Ichikishima confirms it and suggests this is the perfect time for Towa to tell Akira how she feels. Towa panics about what to wear and gets ready for the date. At the zoo, they have a great time looking at the animals. Akira takes her to a cafe he thought she'd like, and she loves it. He then gives her a present, a robot pet named Dove, which he built himself using her own AI and Android technology as a foundation. He explains he's been studying her research non-stop because he wants to understand her and her work better. He then confesses that he wants to know more about her and doesn't want to be her little brother forever. Towa gets flustered and changes the subject by admiring the robot puppy. Later, as they walk, Towa brings up that it's their 10-year anniversary. She gives him a gift, a photo album combined with an MP3 player so he can remember their 10 years together with both his eyes and ears. Akira is deeply touched. Going back to their earlier conversation, Towa admits that she feels the same way. She explains that over the past 10 years, he's become incredibly important to her and the thing that keeps her going. She tried to see him as a little brother, but he keeps getting bigger and manlier, making her heart race. Akira then declares his love for her and blurts out that he wants to marry her. He immediately gets embarrassed and tries to take it back, but Towa agrees. They decide they're too young to get married right away, but agree to be boyfriend and girlfriend first. They share a loving moment, with Akira promising to always be there for her. With renewed determination, Towa decides to revise her Android development roadmap. The story then jumps to February 2039. Robotech Omagi is holding a general shareholders meeting, surrounded by protesters. Inside, Towa, looking confident, is about to give a presentation that she believes will win over the public. She takes the stage and announces her new LC project, a plan to upgrade humanity by embedding AI devices into people's bodies using cybernetics. This would allow people to be connected to and supported by AI 24/7. As she's explaining the project, a man from the crowd screams at her, calling her a traitor to humanity who defies God's will. He pulls out a gun and rushes the stage. Akira, who is in the audience, sees the danger and sprints to protect her. He shoves her out of the way just as the man fires, taking multiple bullets to the chest and abdomen. Chaos erupts as security tackles the shooter. Akira is bleeding out on the floor, apologizing to a horrified Towa. He starts to lose consciousness, his last thought being that he has to protect her. Everything goes black. Suddenly, he feels a sharp pain and finds that his injuries have vanished, but he's completely naked, and when he looks around, he's no longer in the conference hall. He's standing in the middle of a city that has been utterly destroyed and lies in ruins. Akira is completely confused, his last thought being that he has to protect Tawasa. He feels a sharp pain and is shocked to see his injuries are gone, but he's even more shocked to find himself completely naked in the middle of a ruined city. He has no idea where he is and wonders what the hell is happening. He thinks it has to be a dream and pinches himself, but the pain confirms it's real. Nothing makes any sense, and he thinks he might have amnesia. Looking up, he guesses he must have fallen from some kind of medical capsule. Just as he's trying to figure things out, a man and a little girl appear. Akira asks who they are, and the man explains that an earthquake caused the ruins to collapse, so they came to check on the Wise One. The little girl then loudly points out that the Wise One's weenie is out, and her dad gets super embarrassed. The girl, Edie, starts chanting "weenie" over and over while her dad apologizes for her bad manners. Akira tries to say it's okay, but she just keeps going. After they get him some clothes and take him to their village, he wakes up in a bed. Edie's dad asks if he's feeling better, and Akira thanks them for their help but says they must have him confused with someone else, telling them his name is Akira Himagami. The man introduces himself as Wea, the village chief, and his daughter Edie. Akira asks about this Wise One, and Wea explains he's a god their village reveres, a divine being who is enshrined in the ruins to bestow knowledge. He tells a stunned Akira that he's been sleeping inside those ruins since before Wea was even born. Wea continues, explaining that an organization called OWEL tasked their village with supervising the ruins, and he never imagined Akira would wake up. Akira looks at the wrecked landscape and asks if there was a war. The stress gives him a headache, and he gets a flash of a memory. A news report about a 19-year-old prodigy, Dr. Tawasa Omaji, who was revolutionizing cryosleep and android technology. He wonders what happened to Tawasa, but the pain cuts him off. They tell him they're arriving at their village, Hakodate, and Akira is shocked. When Wea confirms it, Akira spots Goryokaku Tower in the distance. He remembers a family vacation there and can't believe it's the same place, now just a small village. The shock is too much, and he decides it has to be a dream. Back in the village, everyone is excited to see the Wise One. They crowd around Akira as he rests in Wea's home. When he wakes up again, he feels surprisingly better. Wea's family tells him to make himself at home. Akira tells them about his time, the Common Era, and its advanced technology, which they find hard to believe, though Wea points out that Akira himself is living proof. Akira then asks how long he was asleep. Wea sadly explains that they don't know, because as peasants, they don't have history access rights. This confuses Akira, and the other villagers get nervous, saying they should report him to Owell. Akira asks what Owell is, and Wea explains it's the unified institution that governs the world. Akira is stunned and asks what happened to Japan, and a villager explains that Owell dissolved countries to achieve world peace. The idea of a world without war sounds incredible, but the loss of nations is a huge shock. Ide asks Akira how old he is, and he says 18, but then realizes he has no idea what his real age is after being asleep for so long. The villagers get into a heated argument about reporting him. Some are terrified of Owell, saying they'll be punished for hiding a relic. Wea feels it's wrong to turn him in, but others accuse him of just wanting to hear stories about the past. A woman storms in and yells at them to stop being cowards. She declares that they'll look after Akira until he's settled, and Owell doesn't need to know anything yet. She tells Akira to relax for now. That night, Akira can't sleep. He looks out over the small settlements and thinks of Tawasa, deciding his new mission is to find clues about her. The next day, he asks Ide to show him the village market. He observes that their culture seems to be from the 18th century, yet they have a currency, likely backed by OWL. He realizes he needs to learn everything about this new world. He asks Edie if there's a library, and she takes him to the school, but the books are useless, with no real history. He suspects OWEL is censoring information. He asks if there's a way to meet OWL officials, but Edie says she hates them, calling them violent snobs who aren't in their village. As they walk, they see a celebration that looks like a wedding, but it's just a group of women. Edie explains it's an ALC, where people who love each other become C-eelers. Akira is confused because Edie doesn't even know what a marriage is. She explains that an LCA can be between any group of people, men, women, or a mix, like the group of 4 they're watching. He learns that you can have more than 2 people, but Owell gets angry if the group is too big. Ide reveals her own family is a group of 3, her dad, her papa Vogt, and her mom. This is another huge culture shock for Akira, and it makes him remember giving Tawasa a ring and her telling him to stop calling her Big Sis Tawa. Later, he helps a villager fix a broken water pump, showing off his skill with machines. Just as they're celebrating, a man in a uniform arrives with armed soldiers. It's Owell's Commissioner General, Percussus Canis. A villager betrayed them. Canis declares Akira is an archaeological artifact with no rights and orders him detained. When Akira protests, Canis says Owell's control over information is paramount. Wea tries to intervene, but Canis strikes him down. He then decides to detain Wea and Ide too, and coldly orders his men to kill every other villager to erase all witnesses. He's a monster. He tells Akira he'll use his ancient knowledge to get promotions. Akira is horrified. Suddenly, a hooded figure drops from above and tells everyone to get down. Canis is furious and orders his men to kill her. The hooded woman is incredibly fast and strong. She tells Akira she can rescue them if he promises to hear her out. Desperate, Akira agrees and begs her to save Wea and Edie. The woman says, "Copy," and tells him to hide. Canis's soldiers open fire, but the bullets bounce off her. She's an android. She effortlessly defeats the soldiers, and Canis calls her a demon and an outside series. After she handles them, she tells Akira the situation is dealt with. He asks what she is, and she confirms she's an android named Yuger. Akira's mind is reeling. Yuger then says it's time to discuss the favor, but before she can explain, she projects a holographic image. Akira looks up and sees the face of Tawasa, which triggers a memory of Tawasa telling him they should get married. Akira is totally confused and asks if she's Tawasa, but the android says her name is Yuger. He tries to get a moment to clear his head, but Yuguri just blurts out her big favor. She wants to marry him. Akira is completely floored and asks why on earth she'd want that. Before he can get a straight answer, she shows him something that makes him realize she has a connection to Tawasa. He shouts that he knew it and asks if she knows Tawasa, but Yuger just says that's classified information. Just then, Heidi interrupts them and they agree that tending to the injured villagers is the top priority. Akira then speaks with the villager who betrayed him and forgives him, saying he understands he was just trying to protect his people. Realizing that Awoke is now hunting him, Akira decides he has to leave the village to stop causing them more trouble. The villagers all come to see him off, but as he's about to leave, Yuguri declares that she's coming with him because he still hasn't given her an answer to her marriage proposal. Akira thinks she's got to be joking, but she is dead serious. He flat out rejects her, saying it's insane to marry someone you just met, but Yuguri's logic is that they'll just have to get to know each other, so she's coming along. He reluctantly lets her tag along but tells her not to do anything stupid. Their first destination is the place where Akira woke up, hoping to find some clues. As they travel, he tries asking Yuguri about the present-day world and about herself, but she dodges every question, either calling it classified or premium content that requires payment in the form of marriage. They arrive at the ruins at night, but the power is out. Suddenly, Yuger tells him to be quiet because there are people nearby. Akira sees two other androids who have the exact same face as Yuger, and he realizes they all look like Tawasa. Then he's shocked to see ID with them and gets worried, but Yuger assures him they won't hurt her. The two androids, Yoyami and Hakubo, are grilling ID about who murdered Commissioner Kanise. Edie bravely refuses to rat out Akira, saying he saved her life. Frustrated at the dead end, the androids leave. Akira rushes over to Heidi, who explains she came to return his Tao watch, which she found in the ruins. On the watch, Akira discovers a message from Tawasa, recorded 200 years ago. It's a farewell message where she talks about her sins and begs him not to look for her but to live his own life. Yuger confirms the recording is 2 centuries old, which logically means Tawasa would have passed away long ago. But this news only strengthens Akira's resolve. He decides he has to find out what happened to her. His new plan is to head to Tokyo, to the Omaji house where he used to live. He asks Yuger if she'll come with him, and she agrees by reciting wedding vows, which he immediately shoots down again. She does tell him that Yoyami and Hakubo are commanding officers in the Awoke Special Forces, but gives no other details about her connection to them. The trip begins with Yuger immediately restarting her marriage campaign, getting uncomfortably close and flirty, which flusters Akira completely. To get across the water to Honshu, they get a ride from a wholesaler named Oboro, who Yuger promptly tells they are on their honeymoon. Oboro suggests they first head to Mount Osor to cross a bridge. In a town near Mount Osor, Akira accidentally bumps into a young girl named Amoru and breaks her paintbrush. He feels terrible and offers to buy her a new one. At the shop, the clerk gives them the wrong change and gets yelled at by his boss, who calls him a worthless Latogian. Confused, Akira asks Yugure what that means. She explains that Latogians are people who have voluntarily given up their human rights to be absolved of a crime or a debt, essentially becoming state-owned laborers for Awoke in exchange for basic survival needs. Akira thinks it's a horrible system, but Yugira just calls him a big softy and warns him not to get involved. They give the new brush to Amoru, who is very grateful. She tells them that Owell has a checkpoint set up on the main road to Mount Osor and offers to guide them through a secret route. As they travel together, Akira learns Amoru wants to be a storybook artist and encourages her dream, which reminds him of Tawasa. That night, Yuger effortlessly catches a rabbit for dinner, and when Akira asks how she powers herself, she explains her core generates energy indefinitely and that eating is just a hobby. Amoru shows them her most prized possession, a book called Bird of the Heart, which was written by her parents. She sadly tells them it's considered banned literature. They finally make it to Mount Osor, which is a surprisingly busy place. Following Yugure's lead, They act natural and just walk right past the OL guards. Akira is disturbed to see Latogians being worked to the bone everywhere, but Yuger tells him to mind his own business. Suddenly, they're ambushed. OL soldiers surround them, led by a man named Marlem. It was a trap, and Amoru led them right into it. Marlem reveals that Amoru is a Latogian, and he promised to return her parents' confiscated books if she betrayed them. But then he laughs cruelly and tells her they burned all the books ages ago. He orders his men to detain Yuger and take Amoru away to receive the same treatment as her parents. Akira begs Yuger to do something, but she says her operating principles only allow her to guarantee his safety. As the soldiers drag a crying Amoru away, she screams for Akira and Yugure to run for it. They manage to escape, but Akira is overwhelmed with guilt. He feels responsible for encouraging Amoru's dream while being completely oblivious to her desperate situation, and he declares they have to go back and save her. Yuger flatly refuses, saying it goes against her programming. Akira gets furious, yelling at her about how her precious principles are less important than a person's life. After their heated argument, Yuger finally offers him a deal. She'll rescue Amoru, but only on one condition: he has to agree to marry her. Akira is left speechless, seeing her as nothing more than a cold, calculating android.